The article is basically about the third, like, Heathrow runway, which was in the news like a couple of days ago. I don't know if you want to have a look. So my plan is basically like to introduce the topic, speaking about travel, where have you been traveling, and focusing on like air travel in particular, the increase of air travel. We have a lot of low cost air companies. Do you travel more? General questions like this, just kind of generate a discussion. Asking if anyone in particular has been to Heathrow, probably yes, because a lot of people have Android in the UK. If not, providing like some basic information. Okay, it's got 5 terminals, it's located here next to London, this kind of stuff. Then at the beginning of the article, you have like 3 or 4 main opinions, basically like the controversy. For example, Boris Johnson disagrees, the Airports Commission, like the people who are promoting it, and they're given like one initial statement. Using that as like a prompt to think, okay, what would be their views? Why would they support it? Why would they not support it? For example. Then the article is fairly long, but it's divided into sections like noise pollution, splitting this between, for example, we normally have 4 students, and getting them to use their piece of text to jointly create like a brainstorm on the board with the advantages and the disadvantages. So they've summarized from the gist of their article, okay, this person thinks no because of this. So you have a general brainstorm on the board. Then focusing a bit more in detail on the text, your specific text. Okay, for example, report back the third Heathrow runway. What does it mean to back something? So looking a bit more specifically at that, having questions, maybe matching definitions, etc., etc. And then I was using your ideas of like creating a role play or the simulation where you assign the roles for the different opinions. So we would have, for example, the Airports Commission who are pro, Boris Johnson against, an environmentalist, also against, the pilot who's pro because it creates a lot of new jobs, and a nearby resident. This is 5 because we normally have whatever. If you needed more, like the finance minister, the manager of Heathrow, David Cameron, Then trying to create, as you suggested, like a simulation or role play activity from that. Creating like a meeting scenario. Okay, I'm Boris Johnson, my position is this. You will obviously given them a small prompt, or they can take the information from the article itself. If you need to have like a vote or it's not coming to a conclusion, the teacher would act as the chairperson. Okay, final vote is in favour or disfavour, and then using this, okay, what do you think in reality will actually happen? So linking it back to like something real. Afterwards, obviously, like exploring the language that they've used, error correction. Okay, maybe you could improve this sentence. And then, like as a follow-up task, I was gonna say for our students, you would do like a similar thing, but for the airport that they want to build an SAO. So then it's something more realistic, and using this, maybe you, if the role play the first time wasn't so good, assign roles again, but for SAO, for sure they're gonna have more things to say. They can use all the error correction points. If not, okay, for homework, you need to write a letter to the president or whoever, proposing your position. You are this person, this person, this person for the airport in SAO.
Will you be providing the text?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody will have access to that.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have a printer.
Yeah.
I just wrote it down.
I think the communicative outcome is clear. It's a meeting where you have to decide whether you're going to go for the you would support this or not. Is there a language focus?
Well, I said like the specific text from the language used in the text, like expressions to back. I wrote down a list like noise pollution, what does that mean? Spark an outcry, a pledge, to levy something, to jeopardize something. This, and then you would, whatever was generated from the role play, which was okay, something, your language, you need to use more modal verbs, you would then generate from that. Rather than because I didn't have a plan for a specific group of students. You never know, some are stronger than others. If you focus on one thing, perhaps they're going, maybe languaging arguments like for and against.
Yeah,
I agree with your opinion.
Yeah, rather than a lexical set, language of meetings for agreeing and disagreeing, or backing up your arguments with a reason, because of, due to, and that's why, or maybe a language focus could be, through the function of the meetings. Thank you.
Shall I go? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I designed a class plan that is probably for an advanced or proficiency level class, just because there are not that many class plans for that level, and I think that also the topic is maybe a little bit difficult. It's discussing languages, lingua franca, and the disappearance of languages. So the first step in the class would be to start a general discussion with 4 or 5 questions. I would ask each student to define in their own words what is a language. Second, what is a lingua franca, and which languages have been lingua francas throughout history. How do these lingua francas influence the world? So pros and cons for this situation. And what effect can a lingua franca have on other languages or local dialects? So that would be the first part. The second part, it would be, well, I modified this a little bit. There are 2 articles. The first article would be to go over in class, which is general history of English as a language, and its role in the world today. As you see, they're a little bit long, so it would be a little bit complicated, but the idea would be to fragment the text and for the students to read out loud. Once this was done, you would have to go over the vocab. I think paragraph by paragraph would be necessary. Some of them are really easy, some of them are more complicated to go through, but go over this, the vocabulary and the expressions. And that would be that, and I think that would take quite some time. So the follow-up and the reinforcement would be done by homework. I would ask the students to take the vocab that we've seen and the expressions that we've seen in the text and use them in their own sentences for homework, to develop sentences using these expressions or these words. And as an added plus for homework, I would give them a 5-page article.
Really?
Yeah, but it's a really good article. To just at least, read, and if they find points of interest for them to go over, then to mark those out, and we'll go over them in class again. Honestly, I think this would be, it's over 2 classes. I don't think we can do this in 1 class. It's impossible. Then I developed a short role play situation. So it would be like a local mid-sized company that has international growth perspectives. They're looking to expand business, but they're constrained by limited knowledge of today, modern day lingua franca. The roles, there are 2 options on the table. One of the options is to hire more employees that have the fluency in the existing language and incorporate them into the framework of the staff that is already in place, or for current employees to attend language courses and hoping that this will be sufficient for them to expand as a company. So the characters in this would be employee representatives who are in favor to hire new employees because their argument is that they have no real time or frankly interest in learning a new language, and they're afraid they will lose the company's local identity to ever-increasing globalization. There are the other characters, employee reps in favor of expansion and willing to take classes in order to help with the company's predicted growth, and they are more open to globalization. And then one person would have to be the owner of the company who is in favor of the expansion, but weary of both the logistics and the cost involved by either of these options. He's looking to be convinced by the arguments presented by the employees. So that would be the role play, and I would finish the class or the classes with a video that I saw that is actually a TED Talk video. It's not long, it's about 10 minutes. it's a little bit of a sad video. So I mean, I'm not sure it's the best note on which to finish a class, but it makes you reflect on things. It's a native Spokane Indian who is speaking the disappearance of his native language and the traditions and the customs that also tend to disappear with this language. And that's
You're right, you need proficiency for that.
yeah.
That's like a whole course.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think it's like
No. The
think
topic
cool,
is
but
really interesting. Don't get me wrong. The
I
topic
don't
is
know.
really.
I mean, I realize that it's. I mean, you're looking at 2 classes, a lot of homework, and maybe a little bit more. I don't know, but
I like the fact,
Sorry.
I like the fact that you did something for proficiency. I don't think any people really think about stuff enough, maybe those levels.
Maybe.
Like we do sort of, everything for every other level. When it comes to proficiency, we kind of just assume that they kind of can talk about anything and everything, and maybe some like sort of really sort of focused plan. It was called heavy for cool.
I think it's a bit maybe too
I
fancy. Yeah, you might
think
lose
this is maybe if it's
Especially if you
something
don't give them a task, because you
interesting.
said, well, they can read it, and if they find
Yeah.
it interesting, you would have to give something specific maybe for them to read it. So, no.
But I think like
I think-
with the in terms of the homework, like they would have enough homework developing their own sentences from this. I could not impose this article. Like if it was like they were really captivated by this, then if I
Introduce that,
Yeah.
like you say,
But I
maybe
can't
over a
say,
couple of
do
classes.
this and do that because it would be way too much, and this is a heavy article too. So
Couple of things. The questions that you do in the warm up. It's a really good topic. I've heard about this before, and I'm sure the video. I love TED Talks. I'm sure the video is great. I would want to sit in your class just to see how the discussion goes. But maybe a suggestion would be possibly to give the questions to the students before the first day of class, so they have time to kind of think about it.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, give it on the spot. If somebody asked me, like, you're saying this question, I was like, I don't know what I would say about this, and this is really like interesting. I'm interested in this.
So like a preemptive
Yeah.
class before you
Yeah.
think about these questions as
Yeah.
homework and then discuss them.
Yeah, and kind of prepares the students to kind of think about what they're going to say, gives them time to maybe research a little bit, because it is a fascinating topic, and I think at the proficiency level, they have the level to be able to Google things and read things online, so why not?
Yeah, that's pretty probably right.
And then in terms of the text, maybe, as you suggested, cut up the text.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah, I thought about that also.
Yeah.
Paragraphs, no?
Yeah, cut up the
It is
text.
in paragraphs, more or less. You have like English, the world's leading international language, the short history of English.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, you can have the title
Yeah.
and match the paragraph with it.
Yeah.
Or-
Understanding
Or what
English
you
and
could
modern
do
English.
is you could give each student a paragraph to read, and then
Yeah.
each student explains what they
Exactly.
to the
Also,
class.
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do that.
And then you change
Yes.
the paragraphs
Yeah.
around. and then-
Yes, I do that with like if I find a really good text, I cut up the text. Okay, this. You go first, second, third. That's the order in which the text is. So read it. Ask me for any vocabulary questions, but then you're presenting the material. You're summarizing it
Yeah.
to the rest
To
of
the
us.
rest of the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. That would actually probably be better.
And then the second article for homework, I don't know, maybe extract the.
No, I
because-
think that this would have to be, like
Use
really
Oh,
optional.
well, if you wanted to use
Yeah.
it, if you didn't want to use
This
it.
is
but-
here, but I think it's more like I'd be more interested in them getting the vocab out of this
Okay.
article, using it in
Okay.
their own sentences or trying
Okay.
to use it correctly.
Yeah,
And this would be like very
yeah.
remotely secondary if they wanted to continue
Yeah.
reading on the topic.
And what you can also do for the text is, even as a whole text, take out phrasal verbs or whatever grammar point you wanted to work on, extract those out, and then when you give the summaries to when you give the sections to the students, you can say, okay, on the bottom of each paragraph, here's the vocabulary terms that I want you to incorporate in your speaking
Okay.
of the summary.
Yeah.
And so it forces them to have
Yeah.
vocabulary retention, vocabulary acquisition, and having them present the material.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I think what I do is, I think that the central core, which is going to give you a really interesting lesson, is the thing that, okay, here's a company, and they have this dilemma. Yeah. take on more staff who speak, English or French or whatever, whatever you decide, or do we train, do we invest a lot in training up our existing staff, maybe send them off on courses in other places, who knows? That, I think, that's the thing. The history of the English language, I would ditch that, to be honest. It's interesting for proficiency learners, but I think, it's not, I don't think it's part of this lesson. This lesson is a bit about lingua franca. In a sense, everybody knows, the importance of, a couple of key languages in the world today. So I go for the guts of it through that. The other thing, it's interesting, but it's another class or a couple of classes. And I would maybe come do that as some kind of follow-up lesson. Sorry, you wanted to say something?
No, I was going to say just separating the programs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Really good topic.
Good.
Pass them
Have
down.
we got copies of that?
We're all going to have a
I
copy.
have it on the computer right here, but there's like modifications that need to be made. So.
Thank you.
Wow. You didn't double side any of this.
No, you need them individually.
We need to visit.
You need them as individual pieces of paper.
Okay.
That's because we don't know how to double side. If Anna's not there, I'm not.
And one for you. Okay. If you look at the last sheet of paper, this one, this is a survey done with some children, asking them what they think about marriage, divorce, when to have kids, and some of the answers are extremely revealing. Okay, so that's basically the information we're going to try and find from adults. So the first piece of paper, now, okay, that we know that exists, but just forget that for the moment. The first page, page number 1, okay, asks each student to create 5 questions where we could identify what children think about these subjects. And each student has to create. Once they've created their questions, we then simulate a conversation we would have in a playground as if we're all kids, trying to get this information from my students. Okay?
So they haven't read the text yet.
They don't know this text exists.
Right.
Okay? So at the end is when I would bring this and put that on the table once all my students have generated their opinion of what this is going to contain. Okay? And hopefully they will be surprised by what the kids really say. So I would say, let's assume we're kids in a playground and we ask each other questions. What kind of questions could we ask? And I would like them to make 5 questions. Once they've written their 5 questions, I pass the questions round 1 and we discuss these questions. It's a speaking class. They've done a little bit of writing, but basically I want them to discuss what they've written, what answers would they suggest, and if you were a kid, what would you say? Okay, so to discuss these ideas. We're talking about kids under 13. Okay, that would be the first part of the class. Now I could aim this at pet level, I could go higher, depends on the kind of questions I want to generate and what subjects I want them to discuss. Okay, that's part 1. Look at page 2. We asked some children the following questions. Write down what you think the majority answered. Now I give them different areas to discuss, like, do you think you will get married one day? What do you think the children would say if they were asked this? And I want them to try and guess and give me hypothetical answers about what children would think about getting married. Do you think it's different for boys and different for girls? Do you think it's different for kids whose parents have been divorced and whose parents haven't? And I want them to try and hypothesize about what kind of answers they would get. Again, they write, I've given them lines. I'm looking for simple stuff. A few words, a sentence or 2, which then would be discussed in the class. Okay? Part 3, I'm going to look at now whether boys are more conservative than girls. I've given, For example, should you get married before 18 or later? Girls, I know the answers, like the idea of getting married later. Boys are more, they like to get married earlier. The word conservative, I've taken it from the survey. They used that in there, and I didn't want, it wasn't clear to me.
Like more traditional?
Traditional, I would say.
Now a bit old.
Okay, but I took that out of there because the answers that I'm going to put on the table work with the word conservative. Okay, at this point, having done our conversation, our analysis of what we think would happen, I would put the survey on the table. And we would look at that together. Try and connect the information with the questions that we generated and say, does that surprise you? Because what you said, does that match up with what the kids are really saying? And then you look for page 4, which says, explain if you're surprised. Why do you think the children gave the answers they did? What do you think this means for society? Would you have given the same answers if you had when you were a kid? And then the last bit for reflection is, what do you think these answers show about the future of marriage? Because a lot of the adults I speak to tell me marriage is now out of fashion, especially in Spain. Nobody gets married anymore. One or two might say I fancied a church wedding. But a lot of people say to me, I don't see the point. We live together, we have kids. Why do you need to get married? So these kids are saying, no, that's not how it is. And that's how I would develop my hours class. A lot of speaking, a lot of...
I think you'd have difficulty doing it in an hour.
Yeah.
I think,
Maybe an hour and a
Or
half.
I would
Yeah.
have difficulty
I
doing
think
it in
we've
an hour.
got, I like it. I think we've got more than an hour. I think,
Yeah, I
looking at
really
this,
like it.
especially,
Steal it.
for giving everyone, I think we've got 2 hours here. I think 1.5
Yeah.
hours for me.
Yeah.
I would,
Depending on their level, yeah, how long it takes them
Yeah.
to analyze.
No, but
You
then
can steal it, you can
I
use it for
could
yourself.
take
you?
it into our class. That I
One copy for everybody?
Do you have the digital?
That would just naturally take you out of the whole hour.
Yeah.
She has it on
You
email.
might even have to
She
chop
does, okay, perfect.
some
Sorry.
conversations.
You have to give some part of homework.
I think maybe the writing task for homework.
Yeah,
Maybe
the last part?
The last part for homework.
the,
Yeah,
I would recommend, sorry, 2 things. In this article, the objective is to read in class. I would pick some words and photocopy it, and so that they also have to think it's not just blah, 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 you know, they have to think of prepositions,
Or
which
perhaps taking out the statistics and getting them to predict.
also,
maybe
yeah.
guess.
The article wasn't,
Statistics on
the
the article wasn't the work on the article wasn't my focus.
No, I
My
know that,
focus
but
is
you
its
want them to
conversation.
read it. Yeah, I know that, but seeing as you have to
Yeah.
read either way, it's better to read it with the easy.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get them to think
yeah,
a little bit more.
Yeah,
And another thing, which is what I wrote in the email in response to this yesterday, was I think that I initially thought that you made a mistake when phrasing this, but just because I think that question 3 in part 2 is delicate. You're not gonna ask a kid, I think that's under 13, do you think the answers were different for kids whose parents had been divorced?
no, that's an adult now.
Yeah, but on top then, in that case, it's missing because it says, we asked some children the following questions, write down what you think the majority of the kids answered.
and you said that you could do it for different levels like cat and stuff or pair.
You know what I mean? You
I
don't have
marked-
to change the
I
instructions.
marked dangerous area
Okay.
on number 3.
So this is for
Yeah.
adults.
Dangerous area
It's
immediately.
a lesson for adults.
Yes.
No, yeah,
It's meant for adults,
Yeah.
pet level adults.
Okay.
Okay, beginners, I'm playing with the idea of what you think a kid would say,
Yeah.
rather than you're a kid, what are you gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't give this to kids.
No, I didn't get that at all.
But here it says, write down what the majority of the kids answered, and then it seems as though, you know? Well, okay.
I want them to hypothesize what they
Yeah.
think the kid
Yeah.
said
Okay,
or didn't say.
very
Can I
interesting.
say a couple of things? Very, very interesting text. I think, B1 learners, it's going to take them 8 minutes at least to read this, I think, once. I think what emerges from this, I mean, I like your task, but I think there's also, there's a nice lexical set that jumps out at you. You've got think, believe, consider, feel. You know, these different synonyms are saying, you have forgiven your opinion. You've also got somebody's keen on something, somebody opted for something, somebody welcomed something. So there's all those verbs. So it's a nice little lexical set. I disagree with Tess, where I wouldn't tip-X anything out here. When I want them to read the text, I would say, this is really interesting. And I wouldn't. I think the looking at prepositions here is a distractor. By all means, come back and look at prepositions later. But I think, this would actually be a springboard to someone going, okay, this was done in the UK. If this were done in Andorra, what do you think? Would the answers look similar? Would they look different? So wherever possible, bring it back to things they know, without trying to stray too much into people going through difficult divorces or kids who are suffering. In Andorra, would it be the same? What why so why not? So something else needs to say something.
I wanted to make 2 points. I was playing with the idea of not giving this text, but giving my version of this text, a simplified version, rather than.
Depends on class level.
So I would say, I could easily simplify that and give that. That's the first point. Second point is, when I've spoken to some children, I came across a very strange idea. I came across the idea that some kids provoke divorces because it's better for them. They ended up with more iPhones and things. And I came across this idea, not from one kid, but several kids. And apparently this happens here. They play mother against father because they know they end up commercially or better stuff.
Okay.
I was going to put that into the story at some point.
Okay, can we move on, because we've got 20 minutes left and we still have 4 people to give
There
their
one risky.
Can I ask you for ask except for the other bit, because I wasn't it for mine.
Doesn't happen.
It does everywhere in the world. It's just a risky topic.
What, this topic or that topic?
No, that.
What I really liked about it
Why
was
don't
it
I
was
go
really
first?
interactive.
Oh, okay, all right, you go first.
I really liked that it was interactive
Yeah.
and quite engaging, and I think that it'd be quite easy to do. Yeah, and in a similar thing with a different subject or whatever, but the layout, the idea of it was really nice.
Oh, right, this is yours, I was saying that's not mine. Okay, I'll go first because Sandra's
I liked it.
working.
I think it's just minimum writing and more speaking.
Yeah.
I like it, I like it a lot.
Okay, so let's see. I prepared, not exactly businessy, but okay, there's a business element towards the end. So basically, I start off, it's based on a video, which is from the TV Shop, which it's a really silly product, but it's a funny video, good vocabulary in it. So before introducing anything related to the video, I created an activity which something similar to what you showed us the other day. It's like, I like getting students to think of their own questions because the auxiliary verb subject the auxiliary verb area is quite difficult for them. So normally what I do is I have like skeleton questions, like a word slash, but actually I like the idea that you showed us yesterday more, where I have an answer here, they have to think of a question. They have to ask a question for the underlying section, and then we would practice asking each other these questions to see what they think. Then I have some discussion questions about the TV Shop, other things like that. Advantages and disadvantages of buying things from the TV Shop, discussing these things. And then we have the Hawaii Hula Chair. So I have a picture over here of a product which is from the TV Shop, and I would like the students to describe what they can see here and what they think it represents. What would they be buying? We would then watch the video, which if you guys don't mind, I'd like to show it to you because it's 1 minute and it's really funny.
What the hell is a TV Shop?
La Teletienda.
La Teletienda.
Yeah, thank you.
It's like
Like a shopping
infomercials where you buy things.
Oh, back to words, I don't know.
Okay. The quality is quite bad, but the video is funny.
Never seen this?
Hello, Brad. So the secret to slim and sexy abs is the hula dance?
2 minute abs.
The dance itself. It's the repetitive circular movements of the hula that specifically target the core abdominal muscles, toning them and strengthening them to create beautifully fit and trim abs. And now, thanks to Perfect USA, you too can hula your way to a slimmer and sexier looking waistline. Right at home without ever traveling to the gym, picking up a weight, or doing a single crunch or sit-up. Introducing.
Yeah. I've got a whole other idea for that. What's the jingle?
Can we get these for work?
Yeah, that's a nice one.
They should be using it two at a time. Go have one.
I feel seasick.
Using the computer.
I see productivity rates going way high through the roof.
Thanks, Aaron Wayne.
I feel nauseous watching.
We gotta have these.
Okay, so depending on the level of the students, I would watch the video before or after presenting the vocabulary. If they had a good level, I would watch the video first, and then I have some of the more complex vocabulary that they could encounter. Obviously, this would have to be filtered depending on the level of the students. There are some grammatical concepts here. If it was a B1 level class, I would probably review the vocabulary beforehand. So like I said, depends on the level. Some areas that you can go into, for example, preposition plus gerund without driving to the gym. You spend time doing something, so good expressions over here. I would get the students after watching the video to explain what they saw using the vocabulary that they have here. So I would maybe ask each student to speak for 15 seconds or 20 seconds, and they have to use 5 expressions from the list, for example, and try not to repeat as much as possible. Then we have some discussion about the product. How much would you be willing to pay for such a product? What do you think is the selling price? What do you guys think?
$49.99.
No, it's
it's America.
It's America. It's going to end in 99.
It's 99.
So no, it's $149.99.
So it started as $250, and I think I saw it on eBay now for $139.99.
99.
So what are the pros and cons of owning such a product? Then I got some.
What cons could there possibly be? It's all pros.
So obviously I would like the students to discuss this and maybe ask the group later to present it to me, saying, okay, so we think that the principal advantage would be da-da-da, so maybe to have each one present something, but after having discussed that individually. I then did create a gap fill and word selection exercise based on reviews of clients that have these products. Mm-hmm. So one of the reviews is positive, one of them is negative. So maybe in light of what you said before that, maybe it would be better for them to focus on the actual text. My idea would be to do this as a group where they have to think of one word to put in the gap or select the correct word from parentheses. I did filter the reviews. I modified some things. I think you guys are laughing at like the.
Well, you're trying to focus while your lower half is traveling around.
Okay, well, there was one in the positive one. It says. It is important for us Western overweight folks. So originally it said for us Western fatties, which I thought maybe would be a bit, I don't know, not too nice. So I modified some things. And so after completing this exercise, I would get the students to read it silently and then to explain what the reviews talk about. And I actually didn't think of any writing activity here, which obviously would be good. But I did create some role plays. So there are 3 role play scenarios. Now what I did was I got each role play to be with 2 students. So that way, I just felt that if not, it would just be a bunch of people speaking, another person speaking. So I created different role plays that are shorter and for 2 students to do at once. So for example, the first scenario would be a salesman on the phone and an interested customer. So one thing that I did, which I think is good for such role plays, is that I'm not leaving it so open because maybe they won't really know what to talk about, but I did put bullet points of things that they could keep in mind. So we have the person that has to sell it and the person that's interested in buying it. In the second scenario, I have a disappointed manager because they're not selling as many of these things as they would have liked, and the salesman. So again, possible ideas for how they can sell more. Lower the price, the manager has to think of the margin of profit, better advertising, think about where you would like to advertise in your target audience, and then 2 other ideas. So that also gets them thinking about, we suggested 2 things, but they also have to think of their own ideas. And then the last one would be a complaint. We have the salesman and an angry customer. Now the customer is angry because it's difficult to use. Their boss says it's unprofessional, and they really want to return it. Now the salesman doesn't want to return it because because they're not selling that much, they're low on cash, so they would prefer to exchange it for another product. So we have Hydro Mousse, which would be spray and stay hydration for farmers. Grill Match, perfect grilling every time. Or Pocket Hose, the hose that goes up to 20 meters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Test.
I didn't think about that.
I'm just saying.
I googled most sold TV shelf products.
Pocket
and that
hose,
was one of them.
Quite honestly, if I'm seeing it, imagine David Cousins.
Yeah, okay, well,
That's,
I didn't
you know.
even think about that when I was doing this. I can select another most sold TV shop product, but the idea would be for them to think of just by having the name of the product and a short description to try to sell something else to them after having seen all of this, which would already be a good introduction for them.
Yeah.
And maybe as a follow-up lesson plan, we could use these over here. They have to present their own video, maybe for homework. So here is Hydro Mousse. And they have to present something with the format of the previous video.
Very good.
I like that.
Very funny.
I like the way in the role plays, you've got, for example, role play 2A, 2B. You're actually catering for the people who think, oh, I haven't got any ideas. So you actually give them two things two prompts they can just take away and use. And that gives them something to fall back on, but you're also giving them the chance to, come up with their own ideas. So I think that's a nice balance. I think it also lends itself to a writing task. It could be
Definitely.
something you bought that you're happy with.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Like a positive review, a negative review.
Because very often when you buy something, they ask for your feedback. And if you provide feedback, sometimes they even say to you, "Can we use this?"
Yeah.
And so you can, you can write your positive or negative feedback. Another writing task that could be, all right, one of the things we're going to do to kickstart sales is we're going to put an ad in an online catalog, where instead of watching the video, you actually read a persuasive text where it gives something about, especially, do you suffer, the typical thing, do you suffer from, blah, blah, blah. We've got, your problem, solution. Specifications, fits easily into a discrete bit, whatever, and then, again, yours for only $139.99, blah, blah, blah. And so you've got a nice little text that it could be done at many different levels.
And just a quick idea for the role play is to, if it worked well and it was really funny, you could do a follow-up class, which is like, or a couple of ideas. Say, okay, we've got to come up with an idea for a funny product or for an amusing product similar to all these. I want you to watch various different things to get your ideas from. Come up with a class collective idea. You all present them and we'll decide on one. We'll come up with our version of it, and then we're going to decide how to market it, how to sell it, what price, and just sort of go. But it's very funny because it's not so serious as yours. So you actually have a company and you make it work. This is just a bit of a laugh with a company, with a product.
It's really good. There is another video of people selling things using the product and just having really bad accidents.
Yeah.
It's also really.
I got the idea because last summer I also prepared some lesson plans for the intensive courses or 2 summers ago about some of these products, and we watched the video, but then we also watched negative reviews, like negative videos.
So funny.
And what I was gonna say something else about this, but it's slipped my mind.
Okay, if we can move on.
Sure.
Next one.
I prepared a lesson on a news clip. I guess you guys can Google it if you want for the sake of time. You don't have to watch it. But also keep in mind, I'm formatting the summer intensive course lesson plans, and this is how it's going to look like. All the lesson plans are going to be in this format. This first page is for the teachers, okay? So when you guys, starting next week, when you guys do the summer intensive courses for the adults or whatever, what I would do is I would recommend having a look at the lesson, print this out, and make your notes, tweak it the way you want, add things, take things out, whatever. But this is kind of a general outline of what the lesson, how I created the lesson, but you can modify it however way you want. So the first thing is the introduction, okay? So the introduction, I write leftover on the board. A lot of students, they don't know what it means. And we elicit the definition. And then I introduce the topic, China's leftover women. Okay, this is a new kind of a phenomenon that's happening in China. And then you kind of, it's a speaking exercise where I kind of ask them, okay, I introduce the topic, this is a phenomenon that's happening in China. Do you think it's positive, negative? What do you think the profile of a leftover woman might be, given age? And then also, if you look at, you can give them this handout, this little chart, because you elicit, or you have the students guess what the profile of the leftover woman is before you watch the video, and then what it really means from the video, okay? And then we watch the video that discuss the, we go over the correct answers to make sure everyone's understood the profile of leftover women. And then I'll get reactions. What do you think? What do you think of this, phenomena that's happening in China? How does it relate to our society? Would this ever happen in a Western society? Questions, whatever you want, you can think of to ask to elicit discussion. And then read the extra from the video. Okay, and then there's a vocabulary exercise, because there are some collocations, some slang in the text. So then if you flip to the second page, there's this exercise. Read the extract and match the definitions from the highlighted words. So this is vocabulary. They need to guess based on kind of this little text transcript from the news clip and match the definitions, okay? And then once that's done, review the answers, watch the video again, and answer the questions for listening comprehension. So, which is also on the next page. Okay. So generally, basically, it's vocabulary, video comprehension, listening exercise, and then the speaking comes at the near the end. I'm sorry, the role play. I have the thing here, and okay. What I did was, this was kind of very quick role play, you can give more specific details depending on the students. If you find that the students aren't going to generate their own, bring their own things into it, you can give more details. One thing I did modify this morning when I went to print this out was I gave the ages, okay? American single woman, late 20s, early 30s, Chinese single woman, age 25, okay? And then possible questions, it's the setting is a talk show. The teacher is the talk show host. And then you have these 4 guests. And then possible questions, you can think of your own. A possible exercise before doing the role play is asking the students to elicit their own questions. What kinds of questions do you think a Spanish or an Andorran talk show talk show host might ask based on this topic and with these guests? Or you can think of your own. Generate your own before class. These are some suggestions that I just kind of thought off the top of my head. And then you have the writing assignment. You have 2 comments from the internet. One's American woman. The first one is a Chinese woman, and the second comment is from an American woman. 2 very different, somewhat similar in the sense that they're both kind of giving their similar opinion, but from 2 different perspectives. And then the homework assignment is read it, and then write your opinion on the topic and relate it to comments that were provided by the Chinese and American women.
Looks good, seems long-winded depends what's the class idea time here. Or is it over a couple of classes?
No, this is supposed to be for like an hour and a half class, because the summer courses, they're all an hour and a half for the adults. So they go, when I create lesson plans, I always add more then less. So if the students go through it quickly, then you have extra stuff. Like the writing assignment, if your students are just going through everything, then you can actually do a shortened version of the writing assignment in class. But this is quite, I think it's going to be more than an hour and a half.
We'll also probably have a discussion on the role of women in the Western world.
Many tangents.
Many rabbit holes you can jump off on.
I would probably do something like this over 2 days. Not necessarily this, but the topic.
And I would say maybe it's better to split it into 2 lessons. So the first one you're doing like the speaking, the video, general discussion, and then they prepare their views for the role play the next day.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's like too many things to try and do. Okay, give me all your opinions, and it's like well, I'm not really sure yet because But well, I kind of took advantage of today's training. I'm telling you, all the lessons are prepared in this manner for each of you. Take a look at there are lessons available for starting next week, and take a look at the level. The levels are written up here. They're all printed out in this kind of outline format. Take it, modify it, do what you want, but they're available.
Okay. Just to be clear, the first page is only for the teacher.
The first page is
but there are
only for
lines
the
on the bottom
teachers.
like for writing. So I suppose that's a mistake in doing it quickly, no?
I'm sorry? It's part of the like thing. Right?
Okay. I thought that this was the space.
You can mark it up on the thing.
Oh no, this is just the
the format.
format.
Sorry.
Okay.
So
But
that means the students would be given one of these cut out, one of these cut out, they would be given this, and they would be given this.
Yes.
And probably the writing exercise.
Yes. This is only the first page of all the lesson plans in the Dropbox. It's only for you. You guys print it out, tweak it, make notes, do whatever you want with it, but students don't see this.
Yeah. One last thing, sorry, taking advantage of the summer thing. Last year we prepared booklets for each week. Now we're going to do it differently. Each day is going to be one thing. Because what happened was some teachers went, and other teachers didn't do half, and then the students were like, yeah, but we didn't finish the intensive course, and we still have 4 pages left, so we should finish it. So every day, you guys are going to have a look at a booklet and be like, okay, well, this could be valid, that could be valid, seeing as the intensive courses are mostly speaking, okay, unless it's elementary or intermediate, then it's going to be.
They're all in the Dropbox according to folders and according to levels. So look at it, print out what you want, take what you want, and
Then we need to have some kind of coordination between.
Yeah, we're going to have everything written down.
Yeah,
You're going to have a list of the
yeah.
students and a list of each lesson. I'll have a number.
Okay, guys, we're off on summer courses.
so like Smiths and Tess's
Okay.
or whatever you guys
Alright.
produce.
We're off on
We're
summer
off on
courses now.
Okay.
Okay, I think this is a red hot topic, and I can see lots of different takes on this. I'm not too sure what the role of the Chinese state media representative, what this person is going to say, except that maybe this person takes responsibility for coining an expression like that for women.
He would be an advocate for the whole.
Okay, so I think these roles perhaps need to be fleshed out slightly. What I would say is, I think that there is a lexical set which is crying out to be taught here, and that includes meet, get to know, date, fall in love, fall for somebody, go steady, get engaged, get married, live together, shack up, or whatever, get bored, get separated, get divorced. So that kind of narrative, the love relationship narrative, is a nice set of verbs that you could more or less put in at any level, depending on how informal you want to be. Thank you.
Do you want me to go next, Bobby? Mine's super quick. Okay, my thing, I didn't have a massive amount of time to do it on account of the fact that I was eating dinner. So basically I took one of the pieces of the suggestions yesterday, which was tourism in Barcelona, and basically, is it becoming too crowded? So that's the whole topic in itself, generally, our students. I have 2 ways of looking at the text. Basically, I pointed, before I got my students to read the text, basically I started it as a quick writing task, and I asked my students to what the typical things that they do as a tourist. Okay, not just in Barcelona, just the typical things that they do as a tourist, the general activities associated with, and et cetera, et cetera. Then basically, I would ask certain sort of provoking questions about to generate a small conversation about why, what do we like and what do we dislike about tourists. Okay, it's all generated to one particular line, which is in the last paragraph. Basically, we'd set up a quick conversation about that. Then I'd ask them to read the text. Okay, because the key point here, before I go over the grammar or anything like that, there's one line in the last sentence which just says, we tell ourselves, are people like us, basically that we are not the same as the tourists, we're different, and those tourists are like horrible tourists, and oh, look at the way they dress, and oh, that's awful. They're not like me. But you don't realize that you're a tourist as well, and you're part of the problem. And that in itself, I think, is kind of a bit of a social look at society and ourselves, and etc., etc. The way we perceive ourselves and the way we perceive others doing the same activity. Then basically I would go through and I would point out the grammatical points, and it's littered with just really, really nice vocab. It's a very easy class, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. And basically, you know, just you look at it, you can see it. One of the on the horns, overrun, turn into, little more than, a must-see, you know, like trendsetters, seaside. There's so much vocabulary in there that's just like, that you can just bang, 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 go through it, and basically discuss it as in-depth as you choose. Some really, really nice phrases like victims of their own success. I think there's a little discussion there. Obviously, words to difficult, other words are more difficult to describe, like overwhelmed, depending on the level of your students.
Conundrum.
Right, okay. And then where we have, like, I think it's a French crossover is en masse, no?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's one of those words that we've taken and we've just absorbed into one of our things. Some other great ones like thinning the hordes, self-same. But I thought there was just some really, really nice little phrases and vocabulary that could be used there. Then basically, what I would do is I would question, how do we think that this affects us in Andorra? How do we suffer from tourism? How do we perceive tourism in general? Good, bad, negative, depending on which side of the fence that you sit. So that was sort of that idea, which with the small writing. The other idea I had very, very quickly, which obviously you can tell, was a simulation with sort of a role play idea or whatever. I don't think it's simulation, it's more role play, with the head of tourism from Barcelona. There are some people mentioned in here, which is the city's mayor, Ada Colau, and there's the other person who is mentioned is the activist who sort of causes a bit of trouble in Barcelona. I can't remember his name now, so I pointed out.
There is a video about saturation in tourism,
right,
how it
okay.
affects
it's quite a bit of a topic. But basically, there was there's a guy, I can't remember his name, I probably didn't put him out, but he was an there's an activist called who basically led protests of mass evictions of Spain's real estate market and all the rest of it, and he's sort of got a lot of weight behind him more. Okay, so one of these persons is this, the mayor, obviously. Then there was also a couple of local people who feel very strongly, one of which who is a restaurant owner who hates tourists, but desperately wants to sell his restaurant, and therefore is trying to sort of, oh no, we need the tourists so we can, you know, maintain the price for his restaurant. And that's as far as I got with it. It needs a lot more work, but it was a very quick plug and play kind of quite easy thing to do, and with lots of vocab, and you can go where you want with it. It was very quick, but literally I did it in like 10 minutes this morning.
One thing that's come to mind, you could do a role play, like just a quick thing. The local people, what's their kind of feelings? Because I know there's a problem in Barcelona where a lot of flats are only rented to tourists,
For example.
Yeah. And you could do like the reaction of, like, you know, one, for example, I know there's a block, there's like 2 local people, and the rest are tourists that come and go. And like, how do they feel?
And
about-
they behave badly, getting drunk and
Yeah,
in the morning,
you know,
and
they're
stuff,
not
and
there.
they can't sleep,
Yeah.
people can't sleep.
Was that whole, was that application, or was it Airbnb or something like that?
Yeah.
You know, for or against, depending on how you perceive it.
I think. No, I was just gonna say, I think there's just quite depending on the level, there is like a lot of expressions in here, and maybe they need something to use them for. Like for example, on the horns of, how often have you had that?
Okay, well,
I would just rewrite it and find the original source and modify all of the expressions that we put in that one.
right. I mean,
Basically what I did with the.
for me, I had different things which were obviously more common, and other things which were like very abstract.
Yeah,
Or
and
maybe
I think
having like a focus.
you pinpointed the difficulty with this text, and I think it's going to have one way is to do a rewrite, another way is to debug, another way is to think, well, I'm only going to use this for C1, 2, and above. Another thing would be to say, and I do this increasingly, anything which I think is speared on the horns of the very end. I've never used that in my life, and I don't know, I'll never see it again. So quite frankly, I'll just take that out, I'll put a little glossary at the bottom, and I'll give you a translation of that, because I don't want to waste time on something that is so peripheral.
Or like you say, like take it out and rewrite it.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, but I take out. I mean, look at the language. Some language which is useful, like maybe overrun.
There's a lot of useful.
Overwhelmed. Absolutely, that's useful. But thinning the hordes, quite frankly, I'll give that to them. I don't want to waste any class time on that at all. It's poetic. It's useless. Though.
The things that I highlighted were like, okay, give me another word for but in this sentence here, where it's we have the word trendsetters. Anybody know what that means? Mia, tricky, turn the taps off, lure.
But I think it needs to be like in the context, because if you give students then it's just like a list of words, and they're like, okay, I understand, but it's not. This is just my opinion, but it's not like, okay, let's look at all the words related to, like, okay, it's a city with vibrancy and soul. Let's look at all the adjectives, and we can use that in something more specific.
Yeah. I just thought it was like a really easy text to just play with and just go where you want with and make it not as easy as you want, but as difficult as you want.
Yeah, I mean,
Just a quick question. Some people believe in keeping English simple, this stuff that you're using. Others believe that if you put this stuff in, it makes your English much more interesting. Can you give me a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of your students. I mean, I actually use this task. I use this as is, but with a student was aiming for an IELTS level 7, so she's aiming for a CAE sort of level. Not because I wanted her to use that language, and I marked some things I gave her, other things I marked and said, this is language that you could use. This is language just accessible sort of for your level. That's what I mean. I'm quite happy to debug texts and take things out. But if somebody's going to be exposed,
would you put it in artificially, like on the horns of the dilemma? Would you do that to make your article more interesting?
No.
Some students think that if they put things like that in and they collect them.
Yeah, but okay, it depends where they are and what's realistic, what's realistically collectible, and what's useful. Yeah. So I mean, but I think I wouldn't want to get bogged down with language because I think the really good thing is the role play and referring it to. And what about here? Because you think of the millions of people who pour into this town every weekend.
For and again.
Yeah, in winter, I guess.
I hate tourists. They're in the way. They're on the mountain and in the street and in the parking.
Well,
I understand why we need them.
There you got the core of this. Of course. Yeah. Finally, Bobby.
Well, okay. Just kind of justifying using the iPad. It's more of an idea, to get the brain to think about using the iPad in class with the projector. You're saying, just prepare a class on authentic material. And I was looking over the last kind of 5 years, been using videos a lot in class. I was thinking, with every other kind of material, for example, you take a snippet, you take a bit of text, you take a bit of something, you take a bit of and I thought, well, why not do the same with video? You don't need to sit there and watch the whole video if you're only interested in a specific part. So I've kind of prepared. You're going to have to bear with me. It's kind of like this came about from finishing advanced exam preparation, and then the students were like, "No, we're not going to do the exam. Okay, what do we do? Let's do something fun." Okay. So, take one. Okay, there's a lot of links there. You know, it looks like I'm just giving you a load of links. Okay, but I'll explain. Okay.
Custard savor.
Oh, here we go. Custard again.
Damn it,
Really? Pocket a pig?
No, it's custard.
Not quite. Okay, so first thing you do, okay, so as I said, okay, language focus, just to choose something.
What the hell is custard?
Okay, so looking at could, may, might, predicative language, I think is going to, okay, because we're going to sort of look at a video and kind of what happens next kind of thing, okay. So on the board, can custard save your life? The students look at you, think, oh my God, my teacher is crazy. Okay, then you first question, what is custard? Everybody knows what custard is.
No, they don't.
Crema catalana, in Portuguese, you have the famous tarts, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what are the ingredients? Okay, and what you do is in the class you have all these links prepared in tabs. Tabs are fantastic in the class. You can go from one thing to another very quickly. Okay, you have the times here for each video, so you set the video up. Okay, you pre-mark where you're going to put the video. Okay? So for example, the first one, okay, so you go through what are the ingredients, okay, what recipes do you know for custards? You put these two links up. One is for, I think, crema catalana, one is for the Portuguese tarts, custard tarts. Okay, everyone starts to get hungry because people are interested, hopefully. Okay, then you say, okay, what do these recipes have in common? Cornstarch. Okay, then you're like, well, what's cornstarch? It's part of the custard recipe. In Catalonia, in England, in China, everybody uses the same recipe. Okay, then we go from there. It's kind of like a journey from custard to saving your life, something different. Okay, ooh, crazy. So then you go, okay, what do the recipes have in common? Cornstarch. Okay, then we ask the students again the question: can you walk on water? Can you walk on custard?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then you show this video. Okay, from this point. Okay, so up to this point, it's all preparatory. It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. Okay, you do not need to see this. You are just proving the point that you're just answering this question with a video. Okay, so can you walk on custard? Okay, so you put this video here. Okay, you say, what can you see? I can see 3 men, I can see a swimming pool, I can see a crocodile, I can see a custard
Filled swimming
pool. Okay, let me think. Okay, play the video. Okay, pause the video there. What's going to happen?
He's going to sink.
Okay.
No, he's gonna go.
But burn is unless you get burned.
Okay, he's supposed to get burned. Okay, then we can say he could, he might slip, he might drown.
No, he's going in.
He's
Okay,
gonna
he's
pour
going
out.
in. Okay, and then surprise, surprise, can you walk on custard? Okay.
Of course you can walk on custard.
Okay, he's walking on custard.
I don't know what you guys did all your lives, but this is fun.
Okay, that's all you need to see from this video. Okay, and then you go. Can you walk on custard? Yes, you can. Okay, and you ask. Okay, and then we go. Okay, why was that possible? Okay, why was he able to walk on custard and not on water? And then you say, okay, what you do is you take 2 sentences from what he was saying. Okay, and those 2 sentences are, and you put them on the board.
What is neon?
Non-Newtonian
Okay, so
liquid.
what is a non-Newtonian liquid, okay? You think, oh my God, that's really scientific and it's going to be too complicated. No, you put on board, on impact, a solid, okay? And on impact, a solid. You can do that in class. People understand that. Okay, you don't need this fantastic level to understand that. And at rest, a liquid, okay? That's all the students need to know. They don't need to know the science of this, a non-Newtonian liquid, okay? So then you go on, okay, can you think of any other liquids like this? Ketchup, for example. And you think, ketchup is a liquid. But you think when you have ketchup in a bottle, you turn it up, you hit, okay, it never comes out. You leave it, okay, and it comes out. As soon as you hit it, you're changing it in, you're impacting it, you're making it into a solid. You'll be there all day hitting the bottle.
That sounds like my character.
Okay, but we go on, okay, and you think, okay, what uses for this type of, can you think of any uses for this kind of liquid?
Yeah, eating it.
Eating it from a start, okay. And can you, okay, and then the students, okay, you get some ideas, you put the ideas on the board, and you write them on the board, okay? And then, okay, here is a video of a man throwing the ball into a liquid. What's going to happen? Again, you start the video at 1:17, and you play until 1:28. Basically, the video is a guy with a bowling ball with some techno music, and he throws the ball into the same kind of thing, a non-Newtonian liquid, and okay, and you pause the video. What's going to happen? The ball's going to sink? No, because we know you can walk on water. We know it's hard on impact. Okay, so you know the ball is going to bounce, the ball is going to skip, it's going to slip. Okay, again, more vocabulary there. In this part of the video, there's a piece of writing. Okay, hopefully, this is where a bit of luck comes in. Hopefully, the students don't read the text and just watch the pretty ball bouncing along the custard. Okay. Then what you do is you take the video back, you pause the video. Okay, I'm talking, okay, it's 1:17 to 1:28, that's all you need, again, from this video. It's in another tab, boom, okay, it's there, it's ready. And then you take the video back, you pause it, and it says, basically, it describes what a non-Newtonian liquid is, and to the present day, it is being used in research for body armor. Okay, and then you put on the board, body armor, what is body armor? Well, you talk about, and then you know, we've come a long way from custard tarts, okay? So then you go in again, okay? And there's another video, and basically it's just a video of, it's a slow-mo video. It's a time lapse video, isn't it? So it's just a bullet, and it's just hitting some body armor, a custard body armor, and you see the impact, and you see what happens to the bullet. You know, most body armor, the bullet, but it's absorbed, okay? The impact is absorbed. Because it's a non-Newtonian liquid, it goes into the liquid and okay, and the bullet does not go anywhere; it's absorbed. It's a fantastic thing. Okay, okay. Then we go from there and we play another video from the start. Okay, which is that, and then you ask the students, okay, can we think of any other ideas for this liquid? Okay, so the first time you play this video, you play with no sound because it's very scientific, and all you want to see is the bullet. Okay, you don't want any sound, you don't want any commentary on this video. Second time we play it, which I haven't put on the lesson plan, from 1:35 you want to play it with sound. Because at the very end of the video, they kind of give you the body armor. They give you some ideas of what it could be used for. So in sports gear, you know, shock absorb, or
I think helmets would be a good one.
Helmets, yeah. And now, if you look at the body armor of especially the US Army, from head to toe, they're looking at this kind of, and it's very maneuverable because it's a liquid. It's very maneuverable.
Does it have a lifespan?
It's got a silver plate on it, yeah.
Does it go off?
But it's, and then at the end, okay, you finish that, and okay, and you say to the students, okay, then you have a discussion, okay. Should so much money be spent on this type of research? Because you've gone from that, and you see people in the laboratory. It's not custard; it is actually just like a liquid, but it is, and
essentially custard.
Yeah, and they put it basically into blocks, and put this block into the suit. You can shape it.
Well, it's got to be cheaper than the whole sort of, you know,
Kevlar.
Yeah,
and they said it's like 300 million times more efficient than Kevlar.
How much custard in run flat tires?
So, and then, okay, so your last question is, so, which, again, is, can custard save your life? Yeah, it can.
Very interesting.
Very good.
You're mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would
Bobby's
prefer something a little
madness
bit more for students, but the idea is so out there that students are gonna love it. It's one of those things that
Yeah.
really
I feel like
captivating.
they'll really remember it.
I'm not gonna be like,
Bobby, it's normal.
They're gonna know this is your lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There is one.
I mean, you can take this, as I said, it's something that you obviously filter for yourself.
Yeah.
You're gonna use
no,
it.
very interesting.
Problem
Very
for me,
bizarre, yeah.
using an iPad, really.
No, I know, but it's.
No, but it's just having the tab.
No,
Yeah.
It is,
Tabs
it is.
open,
tab open, tab.
Email, it's sending this by email, pressing this and it opens it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you send me this file? Can you email me this Word document or however you set this up?
Funny.
Did I save it? If I saved it, yes.
Why wouldn't you say that?
Because it doesn't have to use
It's
it.
just the print.
So if any of you guys have digital versions of what you created or what you create in the future, if you email it to me, then I can have
You want to
set
steal it,
before
yeah?
Reddit.
Yeah.
Huh?
You want to steal it?
Mine's
Well,
copyright.
Use it for everyone in the sense.
Yes, for the
I'm
Dropbox.
playing with this.
Yes. I'm the
It's sharing. Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
Thank you very much. An amazing.